Well, here I am. Just gotta say, I really enjoy doing these live videos because it forces me to stay in the moment. If I try to think about what I'm gonna say before I do these and try to pre-plan something, usually it doesn't come out. And if I record it ahead of time, most likely I would probably try to edit it or change it or reword something that I was gonna say. So I like to stay fresh in the moment, and just speak what the moment calls for. I don't know what. See a lot of people doing a lot of heavy drinking in these times to, I understand it's a nice relaxing tool to drink, but it can get away with you, and what is just a once in a while thing can end up being a crutch. Sometimes when the pressure gets on, those little once in a while relaxations become like a crutch, and it's hard to get away from those. I used to drink quite a bit. It was just every now and then I would drink, and then when I got around college age, I really started doing the binge drinking, trying to overcome social anxieties and things like that. But then when the pressure was on, when I started having heavy anxiety, acute anxiety, that would last all day, I would just start drinking all day long. And a lot of these anxieties are, spurred on by one thing or another, and some things are, deep-seated traumas from childhood that pop up. And I think had a combination of those things take place. So I see where people are coming from with the heavy drinking right now, but I think when somebody realizes like what we are, and that we're not the mind and the body, then you don't feel like you need anything. When you realize that you're not actually any of this that's taking place. All of this is kind of a dream. I say kind of a dream because we're in it, it's happening. But it's not the truth. If that makes sense. So that might upset some people, but that's okay. I'm not saying don't drink. I'm just saying it might not be the best thing for you, But, do what you got to do. I also used to smoke like a chimney. Not cigarettes. I only smoked weed. But, a few months ago, I gave it up. Just like anything else, Anger, just give it up. These are all self-imposed. Resentments, anger, It's all self-imposed. It's a choice. A lot of times we equate ourselves to be these activities of the mind. Like, I am angry. But, like, what? If you search yourself, like, what is it that's angry? Where do you feel that at? And if you examine it, like, the way it creates tension in the body, tension in the thought, like, that's not actually what you are. If you can see that taking place within yourself, then there's obviously some distance between what you are and that sensation of anger. And again, like, it costs too much. All of these things, identifying with the mind and things, it costs too much. It costs you the here and now, the here and nowness, to be so identified with, like, the swirl of the mind. And if you notice, to catch the now, the ego has to take a back seat. The ego is really good at the past, and it's really good at framing the future. It has a really hard time being right now. And that's where the peace is right now. If you're caught in the past, you're caught in the future, you can't have that peace. And just like the things with the aspirations of the future. I'm not saying don't plan for things, but to be so wrapped up in it that you lose the nowness, it costs too much. That's a high price to pay, because this is where the freedom is. This is where the love is at. It's right now. It's not over there. It's right where you are right now. And it's important to keep that in mind during these times. You notice every time you engage with the activities of the mind, you'll feel tension. Even if you're experiencing a sense of happiness, there's a swirl of tension happening. But that swirl isn't us. And actually what we are is everything. And nothing. What we think, what we most of the time we think we are, doesn't exist. If it exists at all, it only exists in our mind. It's just a temporary cloud passing in front of the endless sky. or the endless sky, not the clouds. So a lot of times when we're wrapped up in that cloud, and the pressure, the wind gets blowing and the cloud starts to swirl, we're like, oh, I need something to stabilize this. And usually people turn to drink or turn to, veg out on television or have a soda or whatever you do. I definitely got into drinking, and then when I quit drinking for the glucose level, I got into sugary drinks and messed my teeth up. It's not really worth it. These crutches. It's kind of like, I don't know if any of you have ever swam off the shores of Ocean Beach, California, but they've got a large kelp forest under there, and you go swimming out there certain times of the year and you get wrapped up in that kelp. You come out with some giant stuff all over you, and you're just wrapped up in it. You might even drown. There's so much you're wrapped up in, and it's gross, and you're trying to get it off of you, and the waves are hitting you, and And that's kind of what everybody feels like is them. They're just wrapped up in this drama and trauma. When you recognize the self, you recognize what we really are. It's kind of like flying over the beach, and you just see this little undulation of green in the water, and you're like, oh, there's the seaweed, there's the kelp, and there's who I thought I was. And you realize that's not you. You realize that everything that exists is taking place within what we really are, within this endless sea of love. It's like a giant painting. It's a living painting. You also realize that if you wanted to, you could paint on the painting if you wanted to, but when you see it, it's so perfect. You would never want to alter it because it's so perfect. I get trapped in that sometimes. I get lost. Not trapped, but I definitely lose myself in that. Like, wow, it's a living painting that I happen to have a moment in. This is all temporary. None of this is permanent. We're all on a limited ticket here, and we just get a moment here. That's all we need. And then our souls may want to come back and be a part of that painting again. But when you realize the self, that's a choice. If you want to be a part of the painting, you want to be the painter, you want to go on to vast unknownness, the vast knownness, infinity, beyond infinity, beyond what there is even beyond. Gate gate. So while you're on this limited ticket, spread love, be love, move from the heart. Move with destiny. And destiny has a certain flavor to it. When you taste it, you know what it is when it comes around. Just follow your heart. Follow your bliss. Remember, there's nothing outside of yourself. And you realize that this painting of a world that we're in never actually touches what we are. This painting never actually makes contact with what we are. And I say we, I mean you and me, and the birds, and the trees, the water, and the sky, the flowers, the clouds. We're nothing and we're everything. We're the non-thing in a world of things. The non-thing is love. Even when we speak of love, we have to use poetic devices because you can't actually describe to somebody what love is. You have to use a metaphor to describe it because it's a non-thing. We are that non-thing. We are vastness. We're endless. We're beginningless. We're every spectrum of light. And we're beyond light, beyond darkness. We are actually what this whole reality is being projected onto, like a movie. We're the projector and we're the screen, but we're not the story. Everybody's got a story. We're not the story. Story has a beginning and an end. What we are is endless. It doesn't die because it was never born. It's nameless, formless. We are the undescribable. So while we're on this temporary ticket in this living painting, can we be ourselves? Can we just be real? Can we be love? Because that's what we are. Endless and formless, beyond description. It's the identifications with name, race, gender, occupation, race, etc., etc. All these labels. This is what keeps us from the self. None of this is us. Nothing can define us. We're nowness, oneness. So I hope this finds you all well on our temporary ticket in this living painting. We're the painter and we're the canvas, but we're not the painting. Om, 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 Shanti. There's only God. Peace. I love you guys.